Welcome back to the channel. We're back with some more Final Fantasy Commander deck profiles. Today with Golbez Crystal Collector. For 2 mana, you get a 1/4. Whenever an artifact you control enters Surveil 1 at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Now if you control 8 or more artifacts, target opponent loses life equal to that card's power. So we have some powerful creatures in our graveyard in order to deal plenty of damage to our opponent when we get them back to our hand, along with plenty of artifacts and things that create artifacts in order to make sure that we can deal plenty of damage to our opponent. We'll have plenty of those artifacts on the board. If you guys do like this deck profile, make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned for future deck profiles. And if there's a deck that you want to see, commander you want to see a deck profile of, make sure you leave that down there in the comment section so that we know what to cover next. But let's get into it card by card. Start off, we have Arcane Signet for a little bit of mana, and it's an artifact itself. Cloud Key, spells you cast that are artifacts, cost 1 less to cast. We can also choose creatures, enchantments, and sorceries, but we're going to tend to choose artifacts. We have 13 to start off with, but we also have plenty of creatures that are artifacts themselves. Felwar Stone for some mana. Lotus Petal, it's an artifact that goes away, so unfortunately it doesn't really help out the Golbez too much, but a little bit of mana is definitely helpful, especially because it allows you to get Golbez turn 1. Also allows you to surveil 1 super easily. Mind Stone for some mana and a little bit of draw power if we need it. Mystic Forge allows us to cast artifacts off the top of our deck, or we pay 1 life to exile the top card of our library. Sculpting Steel, I mean, if we have an artifact we really like, let's get a second copy of it. Maybe a second Mystic Forge, so that we can exile the top 2 cards of our library by tapping them. Sensei's Divining Tap, for 1 mana, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order, and then draw a card. Put Sensei's Divining Tap on top, this way you know what you're drawing next. Simulacrum Synthesizer, and also this will allow us to keep getting the Surveil 1 off of having an artifact keep on entering. Simulacrum Synthesizer, whenever it enters the battlefield, scry 2. And whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield, get a 0/0 construct artifact creature token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, allowing us plenty of artifacts in order to get to 8 artifacts even easier with Golbez's ability. Soul Ring for some additional mana. Swiftfoot Boots for a little bit of protection there for Golbez, allowing us some of our artifact creatures to swing in easier too. Talisman of Dominance for that mana. And the Underworld Cookbook, discard a card, create a food token, which is an artifact, allowing us to get to that 8 even easier. Or sacrifice this cookbook, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You know, if Golbez couldn't do it, we'll find a way to do it. On to creatures, we have Ancient Stone Idol for 10 mana. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. It's flash, so it doesn't have to be when you're attacking. It could be when your opponent's attacking. And whenever this creature dies, create a 6/12 colorless creature artifact with trample, allowing us to get a pretty strong creature on the board for pretty cheap, because you know our opponents may have a token deck that we could block one of those tokens with, or then trample over them. And this allows us something nice to bring back with Golbez to deal 12 damage to each opponent. Baleful Strix is another artifact creature with flying, death touch, enters, draw a card. A little bit of draw power is nice. Allows us another artifact to enter. Broodstar, affinity for artifacts, allowing it to potentially come in for just the 2 mana. It's flying, power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts you control. So if we could get that Swiftfoot Boots onto it, that could potentially be in 8/8 with flying for just 2 mana. That could attack your opponent right away. It'll happen. Watch. It won't happen. Cyberdrive Awakener, flying, other artifact. Also, once again, it's another creature that could have quite a bit of power to bring back with Golbez. Cyberdrive Awakener, 6 mana for a 4/4. Flying, other artifact creatures you control have flying as well, allowing us an even easier swing on our opponent. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, then in turn, each non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4. That's our foods, that's our treasures. That's all our artifacts now swing in as a 4/4 with flying on our opponent. Darksteel Juggernaut, it's another XX that could potentially be 8 if once again we have that 8 artifacts on the board. Power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts you control. It attacks each combat of able, but it does have indestructible, so we don't need to worry about that too much. Emery, Lurker to Lock, a spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control, so probably at least 2 most of the times. Whenever she enters the battlefield, mill 4, aka get plenty of artifacts into our graveyard, or plenty of the creatures that we want to get back out of our graveyard with Golbez into our graveyard. And then choose target artifact in your graveyard, you may cast that card this turn. allowing us another Surveil, allowing us more stuff into our graveyard. Ethereum Sculptor for some cost reduction there. Filigree Attendant. Once again, we're going to be wanting plenty of artifacts on the board, so let's get some strong creatures that can benefit off that. This is an X-3 flying, where X is the amount of artifacts we control. Forensic Gadget here. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, Investigate, allow us to get that clue token, allowing us another artifact, allowing us to get up to 8 for Golbez. Activate abilities of artifacts you control cost 1 less to activate, aka our clues cost 1, our foods cost 1. And this fact only reduces mana in its cost to less than 1 mana, so can't reduce it to 0. Foundry Inspector for some cost reduction again. Emotech, the Storm Lord, for 4 mana, you get a 3/3 whenever one or more artifact cards leave your graveyard, aka we get them out of the graveyard because they're tokens as well, they're artifacts as well. We get a 2/2 Warrior Artifact token, allowing us another Surveil, allowing us another artifact on the board. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target artifact you control gets +2/+2 and gains -2 on the turn, allowing us to swing in a little bit easier there. With something like Kappa Cannoneer. Improvised, your artifacts can help cast a spell. Each artifact you tap, when activating mana availability, pays for 1. Ward 4, making it hard to remove, and whenever one or more other artifacts you control enter the battlefield, which will be happening quite a bit, put a +1/+1 counter on the Kappa Cannoneer. It can't be blocked this turn, so we didn't need the menace, but the +2/+2 is helpful. Master of Ethereum, power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts you control, which, once again, we're looking for 8, and the other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1, allowing us to make them even stronger. Matoya, Archon Elder. Whenever you Scry Surveil, draw a card. Draw after you Scry Surveil, of course, but this really helps us out with Golbez because we're going to be surveilling a whole bunch anytime an artifact enters, making us allow us to draw that card as well. Malware Colossus, 11 mana for a 10/10. Spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature artifacts you control. It's not necessarily that many, so like it's not the most useful for that ability. But if we manage to get into the graveyard, we could get something to burn our opponents for 10 damage each. Mirror Retriever dies, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Let's get our best artifact out of our graveyard, because Golbez only lets us get creatures back. Noxious Gearhulk, whenever his creature enters, he may destroy another target creature. The creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equals to its toughness, allowing us a little bit of removal there. And another artifact on the board, and another strong creature to burn our opponents with. Or Doctor of Paradise, another artifact creature, another source of mana for us. Phyrexian Metamorph, same as Ethereum, Sculpting Steel? Yep, Sculpting Steel. Allowing us a second copy of the best artifact in our deck. Rook Turret, whenever another artifact you control enters, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Let's Surveil one, then if we want that card off our deck, leave it on top. If we don't, put it into a graveyard. Either way, we're drawing it and then discarding a different one. Sai Master Doctorus, whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 Doctor with flying, allowing us some extra artifacts on the board in order to get that extra Surveil, and making it so we get up to 8 there. Solemn Simulacrum enters battlefield, get a land. We're in Dimir. Right, Dimir? Yep. When it's removed, draw a card. So we're going to need that little bit of ramp. It helps out a whole bunch, and it's another artifact, so I feel it's really worth it. Dot Monitor, Affinity for Artifacts, is a 2/2 that draws you 2 cards with flying, which, that could be really helpful in terms of making so we only have a draw 2 for 1 mana. Triple Titan, 9/9 that you can bring back from your graveyard with Golbez's ability in order to deal the 9 damage to each of your opponents. Wormcoil Engine, same thing with 6. Both these that have when they die, you get copies that split up their abilities and their stats. Then you show a rule at the beginning of your end step, blink a creature, and get an extra end phase, allowing us to bring 2 things back from our graveyard if we already had those 8 artifacts on the board. On to our enchantments, we have Biotransforms. Creatures you control are artifacts in addition to our other types. Most of them were already, but for those that weren't, it's nice to see that. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield, allowing us, if we were to search a artifact out of our deck, we get anything out of our deck now. And whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose a life and get a warrior artifact token, allowing us those additional artifacts on the board to get up to 8 even easier. Black Market Connections, create a treasure token. Great, that's another artifact. Draw a card, lose 2 life, or create a 3/2 color shifter with Changeling, lose 3 life. Draw power is nice. Sometimes you might want a creature, so it could be nice as well. Efficient construction. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, get a 1/1 Adopter, allowing us to even easier get up to 8 mana. 8 artifacts, sorry. Mirrodin Besieged. Enters the battlefield, choose Mirrodin Phyrexia. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, get a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token if you chose Mirrodin. Oh, it's not Mirrodin, it's Mirrodin. Allowing us to get up to 8 even easier. And at the beginning of your end step, draw a card and then discard a card. If you have 15 or more artifacts in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game. That could just be fun. Especially if we stole a rule on the board. That could be 2 opponents losing the game. I mean, it's going to be very rare, but it could happen. Think about it. Someone's going to remove it before we get to that point. But, you know, how much we were surveilling might not take long. Adopt your Spy Network and beginning of your upkeep, your opponent, if you control an artifact, get a 1/1 colorless Adopter with flying, and whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. You get the extra artifacts, we get the extra draw power. We like to see both those things. Let's scroll on over to the second half of the deck. Hey, oh nope, I thought I did it well for once. For our instance, we have access denied. Counter target spell, get X 1/1 Adopters is 5 mana, so it's a pretty expensive counter spell, but if someone casts an 8 mana spell, and counter it, you get your 8 artifacts right away. Offer you can't refuse, counter target spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. I mean, maybe if we were just casting 1 creature spell and we had the extra mana, but we need like an extra artifact, sometimes it may be helpful to counter our own thing. Arcane Denial for a counterspell, and a little bit of draw power for us on our opponent. Counterspell as counterspell. Dark Ritual for some additional mana there. Deadly Dispute is us cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature, and draw 2 cards, get a treasure token. Treasure token's an extra artifact, allowing us to get to 8 even easier. And you know, maybe we get rid of the one that we want to bring back from our graveyard for our creatures. Desynchronization, return all non-land permanents that are not historic to its own hands, aka all non-artifacts potentially. Legendaries and sagas are also historic, so not those either. Frantic Search, draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands. Allowing us an easy way to get our expensive creatures back into the graveyard if, say, we already put them back into our hand. Spell Swindle, counter target spell, create X treasure tokens where X is that spell's mana value. It's basically budget mana drain there, right? Thirst for Knowledge, draw, and also gets us those additional artifacts for Golbez's ability. Thirst for Knowledge, 3 mana, draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards, unless you can discard an artifact, which we'll probably have an artifact to discard somewhere here or there. War of Invention, X, blue, 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 you get Improvise, and get whatever artifact you want out of your deck and into your hand. Withering Torment for a little bit of a removal spell there. As always, we'll just scroll through the lands at the end. Fabricate, in order to get whatever artifact we want out of our deck and into our hand. Haunt the Network, choose target opponent, create 2 1/1 colorless artifact creature tokens, allowing us to get some more artifacts onto the board. Then chosen player loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. I mean, say if we already had 5, that's 2 more, putting us at 7. That opponent loses 7 life, we gain 7 life. We like to see it. Midgar, City of Mako, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards. We don't get the treasure token off it this time, unlike Deadly Dispute. It's also 1 more mana, but it could become a land at a certain point. And also, once again, sacrifice the creature that we want in our graveyard to bring back to our hand to deal plenty of damage to that opponent. Monumental Corruption, target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Sometimes that's the final push we need. We don't need to be the one drawing the cards always. We could be. But, say someone has like 5 life left and we have, or even if someone has like 18 life left and we use this on them for having our 8 artifacts and then we bring back like Ancient Stone Idol, that's enough damage. Reanimate, in order to reanimate our big creature spell from our graveyard when we don't have Golbez's ability going off quite yet. Or, reanimate our opponent's stuff if we need it. Their name is Death. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. That's all of our opponent's stuff and none of ours, potentially. Cast, 1 mana to draw 2 cards, potentially if you have enough artifacts on the board. And Toxic Deluge as another board wipe. But that's the deck. Once again, if you liked the video, make sure you let us know down there in the comment section or by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And make sure you leave in the comment section what artifact, not artifact, I just want to say artifact a lot, what commander you want to see next. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.